Merci Sibylle for this introduction, and bonjour à tous. And thank you for the previous speakers because they gave us a clear view of what is happening in Germany, and you will see that there are differences in France. So this is the plan of my presentation. First, I will tell you a few words about Le Français des Affaires, so you know where I speak from, because I'm not working in a ministry and I'm not a specialist of language policy, but I will give you my view, my understanding of language policies in France and in Quebec, because there are some similarities, but the context is different in the two countries, so I think it's interesting to know both. And as you will see, in the case of France and Quebec, there is just little room from an external professional French system of assessment. So we have to find other ways to distribute our business diplomas. And I will end by a presentation of our system. So to start with, Le Français des Affaires is a part of the educational group of the Paris Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is a public body in France. And we have three missions. The first one is to promote French as a language of professional opportunities, to train in the teaching of professional French and in assessment, and to certify the ability to work in French. For this last mission, we have a general French test, le test d'évaluation de français, TEF, but we mainly rely on our diplomas, les diplômes de français professionnels, which are certificates which have been digitized and updated during the last 10 years. They propose an assessment in different areas of work: business, international relations, tourism, catering, and hospitality, and the healthcare at different levels of the CFR. When we worked on the digitization and the update of these diplomas, we moved from a rather classical approach. I read and I listen to understand, showing my understanding by answering questions, to a more active-oriented one. I understand text in order to act professionally, and I process information to do my task by creating a new discourse. So that's our way of assessing competencies in professional French. So now let's look at the case of France, concerning French in the workspace. In France, we will celebrate this year the 30 years of the Loi Toubon, which is our main law relating to the use of French language. And this law was in defense of the French speakers, in defense of the French citizens. It was to guarantee them a right to French in their daily life, notably at work, because there was it was to protect them from the introduction of English in their daily lives. But this law didn't have any provision concerning learning of French. It was in 2004 that for the first time, French language was recognized by the government as useful for the professional, to develop the professional skills of migrants or foreigners who were in France. But there are some professions where we have requirements in France, a few ones, notably in professional orders in the healthcare domain, where B2 is required from people who want to exerce, to practice their profession in France. And it was notably made to, well, for safety reasons, of course, but also to limit, to regulate the mobility inside Europe. So you have professional orders, and usually the exam is done by the regional a committee of the professional order, and they follow a protocol from the national committee. So they have their own way of doing things. And we can see that in other parts of French-speaking parts of Europe, you have also regulations and the same requirement, B2 level, for people. In Belgium, it's for students who want to make an internship in the French-speaking area of Belgium. In Switzerland, it's for people who want to practice in French, and the same as the Red Cross. But in these situations, they rely on general French tests to get evidence of the proficiency of the persons. There are some other professions where there have been some attempts of regulation. Into 2022, there was a decree, so now if you want to be a security agent, you need to give evidence of a B1 level. We don't really know the motivations, but it is said to be linked with the organization of the Olympic Games. And there was another attempt in 2017 called La Clause Molière, where you have presidents from regions who try to set up a requirement, language requirement in public procurements, so that workers on construction sites needed to master some French to work here. But it was rejected by an administrative court because in the French laws there is no general regulation of mastery of French to work, and the intention, the motivation behind was not to protect these workers, it was to limit the access of the French workplace to people coming from Eastern Europe. France is welcoming many migrants, and there have been a series of laws regarding the requirement of the language proficiency for the citizenship, but also for the resident card. And interestingly, the last law comes with some dispositions regarding the training of workers. Now, when employees train their workers in French, it is considered as actual working time, and they are paid as such, which was not the case before. So we see that maybe it will bring some opportunities to develop more focused training on professional skills, because employers may want to have a more direct return on invest. But at the end of the day, these migrants want to get the residence permit, so what they will take as an assessment is one of the general language tests which was recognized by the government for the residence permit. So there is little room for an external assessment of professional skills in France. Now let's move to Quebec, where the context is different. Quebec is a province of Canada. Canada has two official languages, English and French. And as you can see on the chart, you have 22% of Canadians who declare French as their first official language spoken, but they're all concentrated in Quebec. And Quebec is sort of a French-speaking island in the middle of an ocean of English-speaking provinces and countries. So the government thinks it must act strongly in defense of its language, to preserve its language and its cultural specificity. For this, the main law is La Charte de Langue Française, which also has some disposition regarding to workers. Workers have the right to carry out their activities in French. All consumers have the right to be informed and served in French. So this law inspired La Loi Toubon in France afterwards. But concerning professional orders, it's at at a larger scale than in France, because there are 46 professional orders, which represent more than 400,000 members. And each new member must give a proof, an evidence of his mastery of the French language for working. And these exams are organized by l'Office Québécois de la Langue Française, which is an organization which was installed by the Charter of the French language. And their exams are designed from the skill profiles of professional orders, and it's based on case studies. And they had more than 2,000 candidates in 2022. This chart de la langue française has been updated recently with the Act respecting the official and common language of Quebec, French. And now most of the organizations must prove that they operate in French. They must get a Francization certificate from l'Office Québécois de la Langue Française. So there is all a policy to be sure that French is still used at work. And this office also publishes reports on the use of French in Quebec, and the last one was about French at the workplace. This update of the law also introduces incentives for learning, and for learning at the workplace, or for learning courses specialized by field of employment. So that's interesting. There is a focus now on the employment and the work. And what is this incentive are either for the trainee when he takes courses outside the company, but there is also a system, French in the workplace, where they're paid during their learning, and the employer gets financial help from the state. And so with this Programme Québécois d'apprentissage du français, there are also some resources at disposal of learners and teachers to learn things linked to specific professions. But like in France, what these workers want before everything is to get the residence permit. And the ministry only recognizes general French tests for it. So they won't take an assessment of professional skills. They will take an assessment that allows them to get this residence permit. So once again, there is little room for us to distribute our diplomas in Quebec. So we have to find other way of doing things and develop our own network. So this is what I will present here. So our system is based on our three missions: promote, train, and certify. For the promotion part, we developed a cursus with l'Institut Français. It's on the web. It's for people who want to define an offer of courses targeting professional skills. Usually they don't know where to start, so we give them a methodology. And there are 4 steps, and for each step they can find advice, material, they have testimonials. Okay, it doesn't work. And also testimonials. When they're really wanting to go, we also offer them some coaching. And we have accompanied, for instance, recently, l'Institut Français d'Abidjan in Ivory Coast, the Embassy of France in Korea with universities, and the network of Alliance Française in Portugal. So it's mainly directed to the French cultural network abroad, but it's also open to vocational schools or universities. All our visual resources, the testimonials, are on our channel on YouTube, and we also run social media communities around the thematic of professional language skills. As for the training, we have l'essentiel du français professionnel, which is a training course online, and the people can get at any step of this training. And they have 2 modules which are free, and it's based on case studies, so they can get a different level of the process of designing an offer in teaching language for professions. And the upcoming modules will contain some coaching too. Because it's not easy for teachers, as you said, to teach French as a profession. They are not used to it. They are mainly used to teach French as a cultural language, but targeting specific needs and building a course based on professional skills, they are not used to it, and they have to be accompanied to do so. We also offer them resources on our web page, where they will find educational material and also raw data, because it's important for them to be trained to look and get raw data from the professional domain and build their own course on that. And if they want to certify the ability of their trainees, we invite them to use our certificates, which also come with some material for teachers, but also for trainees, notably videos and audios from our partners, RFI, Radio France Internationale and TV5 Monde. So, as you may have understood, our main target are not individuals nor companies, but we focus more on the French cultural networks, language centers, vocational schools, universities to distribute our diplomas. And currently it's mainly in Europe, notably in Switzerland, where we have a strong partnership. And more, what is interesting is that trainees are asking for teaching more focused on professional aspects. So it helps us convince teachers to move from a cultural teaching of French language to a more professionalized one. But if we really want to value, if you want that candidate value our diplomas, companies also play a big role by recognizing our diplomas or by prescribing them. So that's something we have to work, and we are working on it, in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but also the French embassies, and we participate in job forums in several countries to try to make companies aware of the existence of these diplomas, and I don't know what I wanted to say. And to recognize it, so that learners know that if they take this test, it might be a good thing for them when they apply in these companies. So, as a conclusion, there are few legal requirements in France for an assessment in link with the professional skills. So we have to build our own network and to invest time and resources to promote professional language skills, and also to train teachers, because they're not used to teaching in professional context. But at the end of the day, what we need is a recognition by the world of employment of these diplomas if you want candidates to value these diplomas. So thank you for your attention. Here are links to the resources I wanted to show you during the presentation, but the internet is not working. So it's more brief than previous. I will be happy to answer to questions, of course. Thank you.